guys, and welcome to this real-time tutorial. So I'm going to be painting this, I don't really know, it looks like it's a thunderstorm, but I don't really know what kind of scene to call it. I don't know. But I'll put the picture in the corner of the screen so you guys can see it. It's from Unsplash, which is royalty-free, so we don't have to worry about any sort of copyright violations. So I also flashed, as you saw, the pencil sketch on the screen because I didn't really want to do it on screen. I want to focus on the or in the tutorial, I want to focus on the painting. So I'm just gonna go through my supplies, and then we're gonna do some color swatching so you can see how I figure out what colors I'm gonna use. And actually, you know what? First, I'm going to apply masking fluid. So, I have this. Masking fluid comes in like this kind of thing, so you can do fine lines, and it also comes in like not like a bottle, but yeah, kind of like a plastic bottle. It is liquid latex that preserves the white of your paper. So, that means you have to put it on the paper, wait for it to dry completely, otherwise you might ruin your brushes. And then you paint over it, you wait for the paint to dry, and then you rub the masking fluid off, and the white of the paper is still there. So I have these lines for where that cloud is. So I'm just gonna go over, and don't use your good brushes with masking fluid because they will probably get ruined. So I'm just squeeze out some. So this works. Oh no. Okay, hold on. So this happens. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop this and go get my other masking fluid. Okay, I think I fixed it. It's running out though. I can't find my other one, so hopefully this works. Okay. There we go. I'll do this kind of line. Luckily, I don't need a perfectly straight one. And then, yeah, this is running out. But I think there's enough. Okay, so I'm gonna be done. Really need to find my new one. Okay, so now we have to wait for it to dry. So in the meantime, I'm gonna swatch my colors. And my colors, I checked on the computer monitor and on my phone. On my phone, whoops. Wow, okay, they're different, but they're just brighter, so they're not super different. Okay, so I'm using Holbein Watercolors. So it doesn't matter what they're named because different brands have different names sometimes, even though they have the same pigment in the paint. So just mix visually. Try to pick similar colors. Don't pay attention to what they're called. Okay, so I'm going to get a paintbrush. This is a size 8 silver black velvet, one of my favorite brushes. Okay, so I see some blue, and usually what I use for the sky is a phthalo blue. You can see this, which is PB15 pigment. Then that means pigment blue 15. And if you're using like good quality watercolors, it'll say the pigment number on the tube, or you can look it up if you're using pans. Whoops. And you might say, oh, this is really bright. That's not, but there's so many ways. Well, we're going to mute it, right? We're going to neutralize it. And I think normally, so I also see yellow, and this is what I do, like you're seeing my process in real time. A warm yellow. Let's see, is this orange gonna work? Or should I mix my own orange? Yeah, I think I'm gonna use this orange. And when orange and blue are complementary colors, so when you mix them in equal parts, they make brown. But look what happens when you put some orange. It neutralizes it, so it's like a much muddier blue. And that's the color we want. We want that kind of dark blue, dark neutral blue. I also see some brown, so I'm going to go with some burnt sienna. And even though there's like there's black in this, I highly recommend, I don't want to say don't, but I highly recommend mixing your own black. And you can do that either by mixing equal parts of blue, yellow, and red. But for this, I'm going to take this dark brown, sepia, and I'm going to mix it with a dark, cool blue. In this case, royal blue from Holbein, which is pigment blue 60. So this is sepia, and you can also do this with burnt sienna, but I like to do it with sepia. So this is the blue. And you'll see that when you mix it, so it's a little too blue, so I'm going to put, it's like a black. Whoops, but you can see that. See? So I recommend doing that. Because like two blacks tend to be very opaque, and you can mix, in my opinion, mixing your own blacks makes them much more compelling and visually interesting. In my opinion. And I also see a little bit of like a scarlet color. So I'm going to use quinacridone scarlet, but I'll have to check what the pigment number is. I'll put it in the description. This kind of corally pinkish color. Okay, and I think that is all. Not too many colors. So I'm not sure if my masking fluid is dry yet. I might have to wait longer. We are not using this. That's it. Not quite. So I'm going to pause the recording and I will be back. So another thing that's important to have is masking tape or washi tape to tape down our paper. Unless you're working on a block, then you don't need it. So the tape is dry, the masking tape. So I'm going to tape down, or not the masking tape, the masking fluid. It's this empty washi tape, which is good. Whoops. Okay. Oh no. This is not even remotely long enough. Oh, I have to. There we go. I'm really bad at this. It's always an ordeal putting on washi tape, especially removing washi tape. What's wrong with me? I can't get it right. That's okay. Excuse me. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is figure out what brushes I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use this flat brush. It is a Princeton Neptune, size 3/4 flat, and then this size 8. Should I get a big one? I think it should be fine. The size 8 round. I'm gonna use a size 2 and a size 2 liner brush. They're also called rigger brushes. And these, I don't know if you can see, these are just like, they're like round brushes, but they're much longer, the bristles. So they're really good for painting long lines and like landscapes and grass and stuff. So that's what we're going to do for the power lines. But it's okay. You don't have to have one of these. They just make it easier. So the first thing I will do is I'm going to wet my entire paper. And when you wet it, you don't want there to be any puddles because that'll cause like a weird texture and your paint will just sit on the paper and it won't dry right. But you do want it to be thoroughly wet. So what I would do is I would go like this. I would wet it horizontally and then I would go back once and do it vertically to make sure the entire thing is wet so you don't miss any spots. Someone's outside. It's like 4 in the morning. I'm sorry if you can hear that. I don't know what they're doing. Okay. You really want it to be thoroughly wet, but not too, like I said, no puddles. So yeah, now I'm going to make sure it's really, I didn't miss any spots. Okay, and this is wet on wet. So that means you wet the paper and then you go in with your wet brush and paint. Okay. So I have some yellow and then I'm gonna add some orange because it's not like pure yellow. See how it spreads? Now something to note is that Holbein, the brand I'm using, spreads less than some other brands because there are no dispersal agents in it. So if you're using a paint like Schminke, which has oxgall in it, that's a dispersal agent. It might spread more, but like that just, you can definitely do everything. If you can paint with one watercolor brand, you can paint with all of them. They just have different properties, but you can always adjust. Okay. And some orange. I see some orange here. I also see orange, that kind of faint mountain distance orange. And we're working from light to dark. We can always go darker, but we can't go lighter. And we have to leave that white, because we're not going to be able to get it back if we go over it. Now we don't have to worry about that line in the clouds, that white line, because we have that masking fluid that will take off at the end, that will preserve that white for us, which is really nice. Okay, I see some scarlet. I'm going to add some scarlet to that orange. And just keep in mind that color is pretty subjective in the sense like we all see color differently. So if you see a different color, if you're like, oh, I don't see that scarlet, that's fine. That's just how you see color. So don't feel like you have to copy my colors exactly. I'm going with some sepia. Okay, this is drying, so I'm gonna wet the bottom. If you feel like it's drying and you're getting these kind of weird textures, when you stop and then go in with another layer. Because if it's drying and you're getting kind of some weird textures in it, if you keep going in that same layer, it's just gonna get like worse. Unless you're doing it intentionally, then it's fine, but they're called like blooms, and like you want to learn how to control them, in my opinion. Orange above that. I'm gonna go on. Some scarlet. Okay, now I'm gonna put some orange here, and we want a more neutral orange, but we don't want it to be like brown. Okay. I feel like there needs to be some more scarlet, so go where it already is. Sorry that I'm not very good at talking while I paint. I don't know if that defeats the purpose of this tutorial or not, but we're gonna see. So here we go. Put in some blue. And I'm going to do 2 layers for the sky, which I highly recommend using cotton paper. I'm using Arches 140-pound cold press paper. You can do so much more on cotton paper, and you can layer a ton. So if you ask me like what's the most important water supply, in my personal opinion, it is paper. Some people will tell you something else, which is fine. It is completely subjective, but if you ask me, cotton paper will do wonders for your painting and how much you enjoy it. So if you want to get more into watercolor, I'm gonna start doing this cloud. And you're like, okay, I can only invest in one really high quality supply. Or like, I mean, it's best, I would buy the best paper you can afford. And I know it's expensive, so really don't feel like you can't do anything without that paper, as long as you're making art, right? That's the whole point. But if you can kind of afford some nicer paper, if it is accessible to you, that's what I would go for before I go for really fancy paint or brushes, in my opinion. Okay, so it is drying, so I'm gonna stop. I actually am going to dry it with a hair dryer because I'm really impatient, but I'm not going to do that on camera because what's the point? So I'll be back after I dry it. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my flat brush, put it. Oh, I also forgot to say this. I have 2 jars of water. See, one to wipe off on my dirty brush and one to pick up clean water. It's a little cloudy. I think I used it for whitewash. That's okay. It's not really impacting it. And when you do wet it again, I think this is why it's so important to use cotton paper because you can layer. You might activate the layer a little bit, right? Because watercolor is activated by water. So just like don't go over, like don't just spend a ton of time just going over and over one spot. Just go over it quickly, right? Look. And if you do pick up a little paint, just wipe it off on your towel or paper towel or washcloth or whatever you're using. So I'm not gonna see how picked up a little, and I'm just gonna go in with my wipe off my brush, go in and pick that up. Now I think we're gonna need some more scarlet right here. Now I'm kind of just darkening the values while preserving the light. Okay, so I'm gonna go on with some kind of muted orange right here. And I'm gonna add some scarlet to that muted orange. So there'll be like an undertone of purple. Because we do have some blue in that orange. And we have that brown. Maybe some sepia for where the mountains are. Mix it with orange. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to darken those clouds. I'm going to define those clouds. Okay, and I think that is it for the background. So I'm going to dry this, and then I'll be back to do the mountains and stuff and the tree. Okay, so that mountain in the distance has a lot of orange in it. Things that are darker are appear lighter, and things that are closer to us appear darker. that creates the illusion of depth. So we're gonna get some orange, some scarlet, and some blue. Here it is. This is a little more. And this isn't exact to the photo reference, so don't worry about getting it quote unquote right. It's just a landscape. And I am gonna bring this all the way down. Use my flat brush too. But I'm going to make sure there's not too much color at the bottom. I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's dark, but it does kind of, well, you'll see. Alright, so I'm going to dry this. Okay, so now we have those three mountains, or two mountains and some grass. I can't really tell. And like I said, the one that's furthest away is lighter, and then it gets darker and larger because that creates the illusion of depth. So this one has some brown in it. I'm actually not going to use burnt sienna. I don't feel like I need it. I'll just use sepia and some more. And I apologize for the state of my hands. I'm constantly getting like gouache and stuff under my nails and on my hands, and I tried to like get it out, but it was, I don't know how much I succeeded. Now where is it? I can't see the pencil. It's okay, I'll make it up. Too dark. There we go. I do the same thing I did before. Try it once again. Okay, so now that second mountain, and this is where I'm going to be mixing the black. But I don't want it to be the darkest value because I want the tree, the power lines, whatever that's called, and whatever, like that grassy, I don't know what that is. Whatever's under the tree, that mountain or grassiness, I don't know, to be the darkest value. So I have sepia. And that dark blue, the royal blue, or PB60. Okay, let's do this. A little bit too dark. Let's fix that. Oh no. There we go. What is that? There's always some weird noise in my building. I'm really sorry. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna dry this. And then we're gonna do the last parts. Okay, so now I'm gonna be mixing up the darkest value I can get of that black color. So it's all about that water to paint ratio. If you want a light value, you need on your brush not a lot of paint and a lot of water. If you want a dark value, you need a lot more paint than water on your brush. And this might take a while to kind of get, but just keep practicing. So one thing you can do is you can practice on like a scrap piece of paper, kind of getting those values right. Okay. There we go. One more. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is the tree. And I said I was going to use size 2, but I think I'm going to get my size 1. Let's see, wait. Yeah. Where is it? This one. This is my brush thing. You don't need that many brushes. I just have a little bit of a problem with getting too many art supplies. We're gonna mix some more. Okay. I don't see my, it's the problem. I don't see my pencil outline that well. I'll just wing it. I hope you guys can see this. I'm using my phone and I should have just used my computer for this so I could do like a side angle too, but oh well, I'll do that next time. Does not have to be perfect, you guys. Then I'm gonna go like this. Kind of dab it on, and that'll create like the leaves. Okay, that's good. And now, the last part will technically be removing our handy dandy masking fluid. But now we're going to do the power line thing. I need to mix, and this also has to be a dark value. Thankfully, I can still see this sketch. Oh no. Not very straight. Oh. Once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. What is happening? I'm trying. Okay, I'm sorry you guys can't see this. I just can't. There we go. Close enough. Okay. This is going to be one lopsided power line. It's okay. What is wrong with me? Make it a little more symmetrical. Okay, now I'm going to be using that rigger brush. It's called a rigger or a liner, it just depends. And I want to make sure there's enough paint on that brush, but I don't want it to be sopping wet, because then we won't get that thin line. So watch. Okay, don't watch that. I did not have enough water on that brush. That's okay. You can go and redo it. There we go. See? A nice thin line. We're going to do that. This. Need more water. These two. It's just so useful. But you can do it without it. And now, let's take the masking fluid off. So, some people do it with the eraser. I usually just do it with my finger. Let's see. Oh no. This always makes me nervous. Actually, you know what? Nope. I don't like this. Never mind. I do not like moving masking fluid. It also makes me really nervous. I got it. Okay. It might take a minute, but. Wow, the line that I tried to do with this masking fluid did not turn out very thin. I should have looked for my other one, my full one. That's okay. You can still tell, right? That's cloud. Hope. It is what it is, what it is. That's what they say. Okay, friends, that is it. I'm gonna remove my tape. This might be. This is ridiculous. I'm not gonna be able to do this right. Remove it slowly so that it doesn't rip your paper. Oh no, some of the paint got under the tape. I hate it when that happens. I didn't press it down. Oh well. Size over. There we go. Not so bad. Ooh, that was a clean peel. Alright guys, here we have it. Some little difficulties, but that is okay. It is all part of the process. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this real-time tutorial, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!